Rise of a nation, sounds, from a liberated Bantu.
Ikubi bana Bantu. Lutoto wa Kibantu.
All praises to Sornini na Nini. Umhandla bana Bermuntu.
Helele, helele.
Bawo, Ogwemazuluwini.
Helele, helele.
Kembo na tata Nzambi, Yama Zulu, Mpungu Tulendo, Sonini na Nini Somandla, Guy Murungu, Mwenenyaga. Yes, it's that time we sit and rightly divide the word of truth. And depending on where you are, Bana Beto, Nusiemi Beto Abumbote Bana Bai Solini, Moloeni Abantuana Abangoni, Abantuana Babawo Weto Oswema Zuluini, Moriega Shiana Shiangai, Mpo Salama Watoto wa Mungu. Today we have none other. She's no guest to the channel, my kings, my queens. The one, the only, Majaliwa Machinda, all the way from Australia. My king, Ayete.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
It's an honor, my king. It's an honor, my king. The truth is out there.
Yeah.
Banabeto know that of their Abantu heritage.
Yes.
But years have been spent taking Banabeto out of the land. You're a good example, my king. You're living in the diaspora.
Yeah.
As a Bana Bilak, what has that Ambi guided you to do so far?
Yeah. What I can say is it's an honor and a good privilege to be invited again to the Banturi Education TV to take part of an interview which talks about the diaspora. Why should diaspora start investing back home? And I am very much happy to be present again in this platform. And I don't have much to share, but it is a word of awakening. It's a wake-up call to all my people in the diaspora to think back home. When you refer to some to the writings of our ancestors in the book of Nehemiah, Nehemiah was captured by the Babylonians, and he kept on thinking to go and rebuild the place of his ancestors, which wasn't an easy thing. But in the end, he mobilized people and they managed to go back to rebuild the place, the Jerusalem, which many people think it's in Asia, but it's in sub-Saharan Africa. And being in the diaspora, something I am inviting all my people to remember or to reflect on it is that we've got many of our members who have been taken to Americas, including United States and other, the Latin America and all those places. The first mission was to change their names so that they may not know where they came from. And in the process, many of them are willing to go back, but because the country, the promised land was divided into small pieces, now being called countries, it is becoming very hard for many of them to go back and make any investment. Now my call comes to those who are like me, who have just recently come to the foreign countries, to the world we call West, to the Western world, please remember to do something back home, because you have a privilege. You've been there maybe 10 years back. 10 years ago, you've been in Africa. You know your roots. Some of you still have the ancestral names. Please make all effort possible to do something where you came from, because the time is coming when you will be taken away, all your identity will be taken away in a period of time. Maybe you are getting children in the West, and after 10, 20, 30 years, you go the way of our ancestors, or simply you die, then your children will begin to question, where did we come from? Where can we start from? But if you can do something for them at this particular moment, it is something you do back home which will connect your offspring living in the West to the promised land. Otherwise, you will be in getting a lot of money in the West, and the expenditure in the West is almost the same as the income. So at the end of the day, you will own nothing in the West if you don't pay attention. This I'm talking from experience, that owning a house in Australia, for instance, it worth like $400,000. And you don't pay all of it at once. You have to take it as a mortgage. You start paying little by little, which will take you like 20 or 30 years. And some of us, we are in 40s. So if, for instance, I take that house for 30 more years, and I am more than 40 years, then I will be 70 something before I finish paying off the mortgage. Guess what? I may not be still alive. Who knows? And in the end, there's no any other inheritance that I've left to my offspring. And maybe my retirement benefits are not enough to cater for my old age in this country, which means they will also have to sell the house or to rent the house so that they can have another money to add on my superannuation to take care of my old age, which means my children will get nothing in the process. But whatever I do in Congo, in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Ghana, in Nigeria, will remain mine forever. And it will go from one generation to the other. So that's my call to the diaspora. Please invest back home. Back to you, Banavetu.
Kembo Natata Nzambi. My king, you know, when you speak, I like not to interrupt because you have captured it. And it's a shame that sons of Muntu go to the diaspora and they die not even having built a toilet. You know the external toilets we have in the village. Not even a toilet at home. Chasing the Western dream.
Yeah.
Well, my king, and here is the thing Banavetu need to understand. There is a lot of land in the land of your ancestors.
Yes.
Land that is just lying idle.
Yeah.
And yet you're struggling to pay $1,200 rent per month. That is the value of a parcel of land in England. 1 month.
1 month.
Your rent for 1 month, Banavetu, is a parcel of land in Emboland. With a title deed, you get to own that. My king, but then we find that the government systems that are in place.
Yes.
Because when we talk of bana betu, there are those that have left the continent to seek the Western dream, and there are those that were taken on slave ships. And you find, as much as some countries are working with us for the return of bana betu, you still find there are countries that the policies are not so favorable for bana betu. Your advice on this, my king?
Yeah, the policies in Africa are very confusing at the moment because many of those policies are based on the Western perspective. Many of them are retrieved from these laws, the Western laws, which have been imposed into us. And you will agree with me that many constitutions in Africa at the moment are written either in English or in French or in Portuguese. So they are not original documents of the land. They have been imposed to us to just be followed. And some of African leaders have just made a bit of change, making a little change in those documents. A change such as like where it says German or where it says France, they take the word France off, they put Côte d'Ivoire or they put Congo. So a little change which doesn't help the people of the land. So that is something which is disturbing those of the diaspora who are thinking to come and invest. The first group is the group of those who have been taken captives to Americas. They've been there for so long that even at the moment we speak, they don't belong to America yet. There are legislations in America which still isolate those particular people of God, the bana betu. They are still being isolated in that land for many years. And here is now, the land of their ancestors has been divided. Their history has been dislocated. So coming back becomes a difficult issue because they have to find where to come and settle. Some of the legislations in Africa do not favor them. Some of the rules do not give them chance to belong back to where they came from. That's the first thing which is making investment of our people who went to America difficult. The second issue is about us, like me, people who just came out of Africa to pursue Western dream, to think that the green pasture is on the other side of the land. And then coming here, some of us now are getting frustrated because we have to pay all that amount of money for rent. And not only rent, you have gas, you have electricity, you have water, you have a car bill, which you have to pay registration, beans, and almost everything that you can spend depends on the money you earn. And the calculation is made in such a way that whatever you get should go through all those means and you remain empty-handed. And if you save much, it will be like $100 or $200. So all the money is just rotating within the system. Sometimes it is becoming difficult for people like me to have that amount of money to come and invest. Because if you don't play it smart, you will end up not paying rent. and that will put your life in danger. So you find like the thinking we had before coming to these countries and the actual situation we are in these countries there are two different things. That's why I have made my mind to start investing back. And I can't do that myself. I need to mobilize my people to think through this one very clearly, because our other people are not getting that chance very much because they are said to belong to America. Many of us still have roots to trace, and we can still do much at the moment. But the problem comes with what we call nationalities, citizenship. Some of us came, many people came in recent years through refugee visa. Maybe their country was at war like Congo or Burundi or Somalia, and they found themselves in a refugee camp and they are processed, then they are resettled to these countries. Mm-hmm. The moment you are resettled, you lose the nationality of your motherland. So you now belong to these countries, either Australia, UK, or Canada, or US. The problem comes now where you came from, maybe Somalia, they don't have dual citizenship, and you would like to invest back in Somalia. The problem comes, where do you start? Because the legislations in Somalia or in Congo or in Burundi do not support you as a former citizen of that country. When you go back to visit, you have documents from the US or from Australia, which show you that you are an Australian. And when you want to buy a piece of land in Congo, they say, no, look, you are foreign, you don't belong here.
Yet you are born in the land of your ancestors.
Yet you are born in the land, yet they know why you left. But because the documents they are using are the westernized documents, they have to stick on those legislations, and in the end, you don't have a chance to invest. And if you are to invest, you are to use someone who stays in the Congo or in Tanzania to oversee your investment. But that does not guarantee that all the investment you do in the name of somebody else will, in the end, become yours. Mm-hmm. So it becomes another challenge. So my call is not only for those who are willing to invest, my call is also on political leaders to review some of these rules to allow our people who went out pursuing Western dreams, or maybe went out because of a war and calamities, allow them to come back and give them chance to become citizens and own land and own investment. In the process, we will find ourselves creating a big room for our own people investing back home rather than the Chinese. Back to you.
My king, my king. And when we speak of the restoration of the kingdom of Ubawo Wetu, Oswema Zuluini, if you're in South Africa, Tutata Nzambia Mpungu, if you're in Central Africa, Tumurungu, Ngai, if you're in the East, we have to play our part.
Yep.
Kadiampemba has stricters, as you were just explaining, they keep you in a loop.
Yeah.
A loop, and we are trying to break away from this loop. And we also know that land in our ancestry is sacred. That is not something we can debate. Perhaps you can share some insights on what you've gathered, on your research. It's still a spiritual journey, my king. So perhaps something for Banaveto on the spiritual aspect of it.
Yeah, the restoration of our people is happening soon. We are being restored. The first step in the restoration is the awakening campaign. These kinds of campaigns we are running are part of the restoration. We have to tell our people that we are the children of Israel. We are Yisrael, not and the land of Israel, the land which Bible speaks of, is lying in sub-Saharan Africa, not in the Middle East. The moment this truth goes through the Congo, especially the Congo, as per my research, so many people who are still debating and trying to ignore this truth are the Congolese, because I realize many of these awakening campaign videos are done either in English and little in Swahili. So many of them are not yet in French, which is widely spoken in those areas. But Christianity is sweeping so many people there, keeping them in one place for a long time, not allowing them to wake up. So the moment we begin to wake up, it's a process, but it will not take long. It will not take many centuries. It may take few years for people to begin to see what is there. And when they begin to see, they will start taking action like some of us. And the action is to own the land. We know very well that our land is sacred, and our land sometimes doesn't respond to strangers. That's why there are so many other people who are willing to come and invest in our land, but in the process, they don't get much out of it because they are foreigners. There are other things that our land cannot respond to them, other than they take a bit of minerals, they go. Minerals, for your information, have been taken from Congo for so long that in the same places where minerals were taken, when they come back, they find as if nothing has been taken in those places. Why? The land does not respond favorably to those foreigners. There are some other minerals which are just hidden because the people who are processing are not of the land. So this message I'm telling my people who are outside Africa, please begin to think of owning land back home. Because that land you think, oh, it is ancestral land, there are so many witches in our place, so I can't go there. Those are interpretations that are keeping you off from going back to your land. And in the end, foreigners are benefiting from that land. The moment we begin to understand that we have to own our land, we have to preserve our land, we have to look after our land, that's the time we begin to be free. Because with the land, you can grow crops. With the land, you will not rent, you will build your house on it. With the land, you will do all the plans, and even our cultural rituals should happen on the land, on our mountains. But now they are desolate. Nobody's there. We are all congested in the cities. And in the process, there are too many killings around the city. Yet people are living peacefully in those villages. Coming back to your question, for us to realize the restoration of our people is to preach this message over and over to them again, so that they begin to realize that we can control our land. And our land is not expensive. It can never be expensive to us because it is our land. Land is you, and the land is part of you. Because you are a human being because of three things. Allow me to explain this. A human being is a human being because of three major things. And the first thing is land. The land is in you. You have been formed. If we go back to Genesis, God said, let us make a person. Let us make a man out of our image. And the first thing he gathered land or soil. After having soil, the second element was water. He put soil and he brought water. He mixed water and soil to form flesh and bones. And that was not enough for a human being to be the way he is. He brought the third element, and the third element was hair. He breathed the hair into that person he formed. And these three things, soil, water, and air, form a human being. And we are the way we are because we have soil in our bodies. We have water in our bodies, and we have air, we have a breath. And those things are still natural in our places. We still have a land, which is what you said, the land is still lying idle there. And we can still play on it, we can still use it. We've got a lot of streams of water in sub-Saharan Africa. I've been in so many places in Kenya, Tanzania, Burundi, Congo. You find you cannot go 10 kilometers without finding a stream of water. And that water doesn't need water guard, doesn't need any treatment. It's pure water. We can still interact with that water. And it is a source of life. We've got lakes where we can go and have a fish. And again, we still have a good environment, which has fresh air. We don't need mosquito repellent. We don't need many things which are being used in the West. We've got everything there. And we are the original people who have been created in the image of God. If you walk around the world at the moment, children who interact very much with the soil, with the water, and with the hair can still be found in Africa. That's why when you go to Google, you will find so many photos, funny photos of African children being full of dust all over. It is part of them. But in the West, there's no soil enough for children to play with. So I am appealing to those in the diaspora. Construct a house in your place. Build something for your children in your place. Otherwise, you will be late and you will find, oh, the land is already occupied. We are coming back, and we cannot come back and stay in somebody's house. We have to build our own houses. The land is still there, but the politics of the Chinese at the moment is to make us not have that land for ourselves. So I'm appealing to those in power to revise some of the legislations to allow our people to come back and invest. And this investment should not be restricted because I came from Congo, I cannot have a house in Mombasa. Because I came from Tanzania, I cannot have a house in Luanda, Angola.
One thing, my king,
that should be open to all Black people to invest wherever they feel they can invest.
My king, and we remind them that these borders, these so-called borders, are only the machinations of the Mundele, Kadi and Pemba, Prior to 1884 Berlin Conference, we didn't have any of that nonsense. We were not limited by borders. We were allowed to roam free in the land of our ancestors. Now, my king, this worries me because you talk of policymakers and those leaders, and we know most of them are puppets of the system. So how can we ask the same puppets of the system to be our liberators?
Yeah, a good question. Those are puppets that are being used by the same system to oppress us. And not only them, but also religious leaders are taking the same line. The religious leaders are taking the same line, stealing from us, saying we will be blessed, we will be blessed. And now they are taking the little we have and they are building mansions. They are buying aircrafts. So the easiest way to help ourselves in this matter is to force our way in. Sometimes we don't need to go by negotiation. We just have to force our way in. Those of the diaspora who are still have their connections in those splitted parts of our country, please go back there. If you can do it through someone, you know, do it through that person and have something for yourself. In the end, you will come back and sit with those puppets and tell them, please, I've done this and that, so I can give you this and allow me to own this. And because they are puppets, at the end, they will allow you. I know one person from Australia who went to Burundi with other Mondele. They wanted to do something there. He went with other Mondele and they went to the president and they talked to the president. They were given a piece of land and they made some investment there. So sometimes we have to force our way in. If it is to go with enemies, go with them. If it is to go by yourself, but do something at any place where you like. And you can force your way in later now to convince those in power. Because some of them, they think they know, but they are being confused by the colonizers. But when you force your way in, you start something, then you begin to convince them through what you've already started. The problem comes when some of us negotiate their way in while they are still empty-handed. You cannot have your way in while you're still empty-handed. You need to have something that you've already started. Then begin to talk to them through what you've already started. And in the end, you will have your way inside.
My king, we thank you. And as we say, mkono mtupu haulambwi.
Haulambwi, yeah.
An empty hand cannot be licked. My king, yeah. And that is why we are inviting them to dialogue. Bana betu, let us dialogue. We are creating platforms to do this, my king, and if you will do the honor, today we are launching our website, that is www.bantureeducationtv.org, a platform where we can all dialogue towards coming back home, reconstruction of Embo land, and anything. Bana betu, we have the numbers, we have the skill set. We are inviting you to come work with us. If you have a special skill set, if you have anything to contribute towards the restoration of the kingdom of Ubawo Weto Oswema Zuluini, bring it. Intellectual property, that's all we need, so that we may empower each other for the restoration of the kingdom. We have been given the spiritual go-ahead. We have come to the realization of who we are. And you see the message is going far and wide. The message is being heard in India. Majaliwa Machinda, you're holding out the message in Australia. Bana Bilaka, the watchmen, in all the umlindis, the watchmen are coming up passionately, speaking this truth. elders from different factions, bringing out the ancient secrets. The scepter of war has been raised. And as we were told, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
Yeah.
7 levels of the mind. This time, we are not going to fight against the Mundele with guns.
Yeah.
We are going to fight them with our heads. Because we have been lacking in wisdom, but we ask for wisdom for he who gives it freely. And by he, I speak of Tatan Zambia Mpungu Tulendo, Yama Zulu, Sonini Nanini Somandla, Ngai Murungu Mwenenyaga. My king, perhaps some last words. I know you always a busy man.
Yes, my last word is to our fellow bana betu who are in the mainland. When I say mainland, those are in sub-Saharan Africa. Please, those who are now awakened, make those platforms available for some of us who are willing to come and invest back home. The other challenge is becoming, is to us when you want to invest back, but you don't have who can supervise your investment. Some of the people you are related to, they take it for granted because you are related. And in the end, they don't do as you plan. And you know, those who are in the diaspora, they work day and night to earn $1. And when they begin to send their dollars so that they can have a piece of land or maybe something for themselves, that small money is divided almost 3 times for them to have like 1/3 of the portion that they've been sending. And that creates a bit of conflict here and there. And some of them get frustrated and they don't come back again. So I am also advising those of us who are in Africa, please cooperate with us. Anytime when we have a small project that we want to run, be there for us. Help us guarantee that it can be done. Because in so doing, those of us who have been taken to Americas for so long, they will start to be interested in coming back to invest. But the moment they come to invest and now you take half of their investment and you put in your pocket, you frustrate them. And when they go back to US, they will not feel like to come back. So we need to cooperate in all these aspects. And those who are in diaspora, don't feel discouraged to do something back home. Do with someone you know he can help. And these are some of the platforms I can recommend, like the website you are creating. I've visited it one time, but it wasn't well not yet well done. But I spoke with Talia a few days ago, and I also encourage that whatever you do, we are all together. And I would like to recommend such platforms for other people who are willing to invest back, to go through some of our platforms. Because when they come through your platform, you are 2, 3, 4, 5 people. They say, no, I need a land in Embu. Then and you are like an entity. You will speak to the members of parliament there. You will speak with the chiefs, and they will be able to give you a land. And that land will belong to the other people. When they come back, at least they have somewhere to start. So I congratulate those initiatives, and I wish them to be expanded so that those who are still hesitating to come and invest begin to get that courage to come back and invest. Investing back home is a capital that we are building for our ancestors, for our offspring. And it's also a good connection from our ancestors to our offspring. Otherwise, some of us, when we pray, being far from the land, we feel detached, and we feel that we always feel like there's a bit of power which is missing somewhere. So that's my appeal. Go back and invest in Africa. Feel free to connect with anyone you feel can help you acquire land, acquire investment, and go and live a free life where you can sleep and wake up at your own time. But here, the story is different.
My king, my king, my king, as always, in humility, we receive this wisdom that you have allowed us to partake of, that Nzambi Mpungu has given you freely, and freely you have shared with us. We say, Kembo Kembo Natata Nzambi Yamazulu. Thank you, Majaliwa Machinda. He had to step out. We honor you for this. We continue to ask you, Bana Betu, Ungubani, who are you? Know thyself. Invest back home. Join us. Let's dialogue. By the Ngolo for the Kembo of Tata Nzambi Mpungu Tulendo, Sonini Nanini Somandla, Ngai Murungu Mwene Nyaga. Until next time, Matondo Masaka.
All praises to Sormini Narmini. Umhanda Bana Bermutu.
Rise of a nation, sounds from a liberated Bantu.
All praises to Sormini Narmini. Umhanda Bana Bermutu.